Hi friends, this is Caitlin and I'm so excited to welcome you back to the Pawsome Stamps channel. Today we're going to be making this really cute gatefold card featuring a very caffeinated and sugary belly band. I'm going to be using the Coffee Besties stamp set as well as the one cupcake from the Sweet Cupcakes stamp set, and then a few beautiful sequins from the Roasted Coffee embellishment mix, which was my original inspiration for this whole card. So I'm starting out by taking that cupcake and I'm stamping 2 of them. And I'm going to also be stamping out 2 of this to-go coffee mug from that Coffee Besties stamp set. I am 100% a coffee addict, and something that my best friend and I do love to do is go get a coffee and bond in our time while we sit and wait in the drive-thru. So I definitely pictured this as being a great card to give to your bestie, maybe with a little coffee gift card inside or something like that. It could definitely be for birthday, but it could also just be for any time, especially depending on how you color it. So I stamped my images in some alcohol safe ink, and I'm going in now with my Cupcakes, and as always I'll have all of the colors that I'm using listed down in the description box below for you in case you want to check them out and get some more details. But I'm going in with these really kind of neutral toned E markers, and I'm just creating kind of a cardboard cozy sleeve for the outside of this to-go cup. And I kept all of the colors for this really neutral. I decided to add 1 pop of color when we get to the cupcakes later, something to kind of tie in and give a little nod to the Pawsome Stamps color scheme and logo. But overall, I decided to use those E40 markers multiple times and then my warm gray markers multiple times to keep the coloring on here really neutral and kind of soft, and let the design of the card be what kind of stands out for this. So I am using those same E40 markers now to emphasize the shadows that would be created on this different layers of the swirly frosting, kind of just creating a neutral vanilla kind of buttercream feel, and just really playing up anywhere where one layer is overlapping another. That's where the shadow would be, and also kind of leaving a little bit of a highlight right on the outermost corners where the light would be bouncing off. Just kind of helps to give a more rounded feel when you're creating something that you want to look a little more 3D. I think it's really fun to take a more simple design or color scheme and really have fun playing with the amount of dimension that you can create just by how you place your shadows and the amount of contrast that you use. So for my coffee cups and lids, I decided to use the same colors. I just added a darker shade to the lid than I did when I was doing the cups, just because the cups are going to be much smoother where the lid has a little bit more going on, and so I thought there would be more shadows there. The other really nice thing with this is if you keep the center part of the cup very nice and bright, which I use the W00, it really helps to create that brighter highlight without having to add a lot of darker. So it helps for the cup to read as a white or like a very off-white kind of cup. That might actually be a W000, but again, check down in that description box because I'll double check and make sure that I list the right thing down there for you. So I did the exact same coloring for my 2 cups and my 2 cupcakes, and then I did decide to have a little bit of fun and add a nice pop of color, being inspired by that Pawsome Stamps logo. And so I grabbed my BG markers and I decided to use those for the cupcake wrappers. Now, I did use some colors that ended up being a little bit brighter than I wanted them to be. So I actually did some glazing with my Copic markers, and I took one of my BG 70 markers, which has a lot more gray in it than these lighter, brighter markers that I'm using for the main coloring. And by running a layer of that color over everything when it was all done, you can see it definitely tones it down and adds a little bit of that gray hue to it. Next, it was time to get my card ready. So I cut my vellum down to 1 3/4 by 9 inches, and I decided that 1 3/4 was just about the perfect size to support the height of that to-go coffee cup stamp. So that's how I picked that dimension. And then I took a piece of craft cardstock that measured 8.5 by 5.5, and I'm scoring it at 2 1/8 on both sides, so that when we fold those in towards the center, we get a standard A2 size card that measures 4 1/4 by 5.5. So you don't have to worry about any special envelopes or anything like that. It's just a fun way to kind of use your normal dimensions, but change it up a little bit. So then I scored that vellum at 2.5, and I was trying to figure out the math of where to score the other side, and then I decided I was making it too hard for myself. I was making it more difficult than it needed to be. So I just held the vellum up to the card and used that as my guide. So I took my time and made sure that it was nice and lined up and straight, and then just gently folded the vellum over, making sure not to pull it too tight so that it wasn't super difficult to get on and off of the card. And I just folded lightly first, and then took it out of the card and used my bone folder to reinforce that crease. And then I went in with a little bit of tape runner to seal it shut, just so I wouldn't have to worry about any liquid glue oozing out or getting on my actual cardstock when I was making sure that it fit. I also found that the more often that I played with this and kind of took it on and off the card, the easier it was to do so. So definitely give that a go and work on taking it on and off so that it's a little bit easier for your recipient when you send it out. So I decided to jazz up my cardstock a little bit and create kind of a pattern paper feel by going in with some of the coffee bean stamps that are in this stamp set. And I'm using a brown ink just for a kind of softer tone-on-tone look, and to help it have a true pattern paper feel instead of just a stamped cardstock. I find that going over that middle section, as well as letting some of your stamped images hang over the sides and kind of get cut off, really helps to create a true pattern paper feel, because that pattern would just keep going no matter where your card stops. But you could also do this however you want. If you're very into even increments, I wouldn't blame you. Sometimes those kind of things make me happy too. So I took the Coffee is Always Better with a Friend stamp, and I'm stamping that on the inside of my card, just in some plain black ink. I decided to do this more towards the top, so I would have plenty of room for my own handwritten message, or to tape in a little gift card or something like that if I wanted to. You could obviously do whatever you want. You have plenty of room there with those side tabs too, that you could add in so many messages. This would be a great design if you were doing a card from like a group where you needed lots of people to sign, like a work kind of office card, because you have so much extra room than normal. So now I'm going in with my dies and lining them up and just taping them down with a little bit of washi tape and running those through my die cutting machine. And then it was time to start decorating this belly band, and I was so excited. So I wanted to go for a little bit more of a symmetrical feel. So you can see I'm kind of just planning out my spots. I had a little bit of washi tape that was stuck there on the end, so I cleaned that off. And originally I thought I was going to put my sentiment, that Coffee Besties little sentiment, on the card front. But when I decided it needed to go right across those cups, I fussy cut it out. And then it was time to glue everything down. So on this part, I did use a little bit of liquid glue just to give myself a little bit of extra time to wiggle things around. And I held my coffee cups in place in the center just so that I knew I would have enough room for them and make sure that they weren't super overlapping my cupcakes. So then I laid those down and then added my coffee cups right on top, right in the center. And I just think this is the perfect symbol of best friends kind of cheersing their coffee cups right in the middle. And what's better with coffee than a little sweet treat like a donut or a cupcake, right? And then this is my favorite part. I am absolutely in love with the sequin mixes from Pawsome Stamps, and this is one of my all-time favorites. This is the roasted coffee, and there are so many beautiful golden and brown and bronzy tones in this embellishment mix. And so I just had a lot of fun kind of picking out different ones and having a lot of fun too, tucking them under and over images just to create a little bit of extra interest. I think that playing with the different levels and also making sure that you're overlapping some of those artist drawn lines really helps to kind of break everything up and just give a little extra interest as well as sparkle. I glued those sequins into place once I was happy, and then it was time to slip this belly band on and see the final result. I absolutely love how it turned out, and I hope that you are feeling super inspired to try out something fun and maybe a little different than you're used to. For more inspiration from Pawsome Stamps, make sure that you hit that subscribe button and also go check them out on Instagram because they are always sharing fun and new things over there. I hope that you have an amazing week, and as always, happy crafting.